Hey guys, it's Jen with Two Ends. I am going to do a Christmas mani today, but I'm going to do it in two different parts. So in this video, I'm going to do a Santa hat on my thumb, and then for part two, we'll do a Santa buckle on my middle finger. So I figured just easier to break it up into two different parts. That way nobody becomes overwhelmed and the videos aren't super long. So I'm going to use Double Dip's Cherry of Love for the Santa hat, also for the buckle, but we'll get to that anyway. I love this red. I think it's super bright and I think it's perfect for Santa's hat. If you are new to my channel, then welcome. And if you've been here before, then you know I will always tell you to make sure to stir your dip powder before you use it. If you don't stir it, then you're going to have some problems, especially if that powder has become compact in the jar. By stirring it, you kind of fluff up the powder so the application process is a lot smoother, and then the end result is definitely much better. I start every manicure with peel base. I use UNT or UNT. I will be honest with you, I have no idea how to pronounce it, but I get it from Amazon and I literally use it under every manicure. If you want your manicures to last, though, then I don't recommend this step. I change my manicures out once every 1 to 4 days, so I definitely need to be able to pop them off quickly and soon, I should say. But if you want it to last, then, like I said, I would recommend skipping this step. I did a more in-depth video on peel base, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about it in this video. You can check it out if you want to, but the point I want to make sure is driven home is to make sure the peel base is completely dry before you start dipping. So for this mani, I'm using Rocky Mountain Dip Powders liquids. I love their liquids. They're amazing products. If you haven't had the chance to try them yet, you definitely should. And of course, there is a discount link in the description box below if you want to save some money. Their powders are also amazing. Super, super fine and amazing colors. Anyways, so just like a basic application, we're going to start with a thin layer of base coat. Cover your entire nail. You want to get as close to your cuticle as possible without getting any on your skin. Like I did. If you do get any on your skin, make sure that you wipe it off because the powder will stick to it and it's going to be harder to get it off your skin once it's dried. So I tapped the jar of powder because I wanted to make it as level as possible. This part was really tricky. Hindsight is always 20/20. I probably should have used tape to block off the color. I did not. I tried to freehand it and it turned out okay, but I think it would have been easier ultimately if I blocked it out with tape. So I got the angle first, and then once I had the angle, then I tapped the jar again and then stuck my thumb straight in to try to get the brim of the hat to be a straight edge, if that makes any sense. And then, of course, tap off the excess powder. I did have to go back in to try to make that edge a little straighter. And again, this is where tape would have been really helpful because it could have been a straight, more crisp edge, I think. But like I said, it all turned out just fine in the end. We live and we learn, and I can at least give you my experience and tell you that you should use tape. What I did learn, though, was that it didn't really matter if the brim of the hat was super straight, if that edge was a straight edge or not, because when I went in with the white, it covered it up anyway. So if you do make a mistake and the brim of your hat is not as straight as you want it to be, don't worry, we can fix it towards the end when we put in the white fluff for the hat. So after you're satisfied with the application of the red part of the hat, then you're going to want to make sure to take the clear powder and fill in the rest of your thumb. If you don't do that, then you're going to have an unevenness of your nail because you have red powder and then nothing on the nail bed, the rest of your nail bed. So the clear powder really helps to just make sure that the nail bed is even and the application looks smooth and feels smooth and just looks really good all around. Per usual, since you did some powder there, you want to make sure to clean up your cuticles. The cleaner your cuticle edge, the better your manicure will look. I cannot stress that to you enough. Also, I just want to go back here really quick. You noticed that I poured the clear powder from my cupcake liner. I did that so that I wouldn't be dipping my nail into my clear powder with the red tip. I did not want to contaminate my clear with the red. So keep that in mind. It's something that I recommend you do. Also, this part, I wanted to be careful with the liquid and the red, so I made sure to wipe my brush before I brushed the clear part, which you should be wiping your brush before you stick it back into the bottle anyways, but especially so if you have a really, really bright pigmented color and you're going over a lighter color, you want to be careful so that you don't contaminate the other color. So I only did 2 layers of color on my thumb and then a layer of clear. So 3 layers total, but only 2 layers of the clear, and that was fine enough. The red was completely bright. It was perfect for what I was looking for. And I did find that it was easier, the second layer, of just matching up the line instead of trying to freehand it. It just, for whatever reason, it was easier because I had something to match it up to, if that makes sense. And hopefully you're noticing when I tap the jar, I'm just doing that to make it level because it is easier to try to get a crisper edge either way if the powder is level and flat instead of all messed up and lopsided on one side. And it is a little bit more tricky trying to brush off excess powder when you're using clear as your second color, because I did not want the powder to brush onto the clear part of my nail. But also I didn't want to mess up the liquid that I already had on there. So here I am pouring over the clear powder. I noticed that my jar of clear is a little clumpy. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't really do a great pour over. Hopefully your clear is a little bit smoother, but I've had this for a while, so I'm guessing that has something to do with it. And voila, the first part of our hat is done. So the next step is to activate it. Making sure to activate it, use as much as you need. Be very generous in your application of it because this is what hardens the nail so that you can file it. And also be very careful to not contaminate your liquid. Make sure that you wipe your brush before you put it back into the jar or into the bottle because that red is very pigmented and it will only be a problem when you go to use the activator on a white nail or something similar. So just wipe your brush. So now comes the fun part of the hat. I used my white stamping polish from Maniology that I had on hand and also my largest dotting tool that I could find. I'm sure if you don't have stamping polish, regular polish would work just as well. I just chose stamping polish because I know that it dries faster. So what I did was took some stamping polish and I put it on a little plastic bag, which I got from Amazon. But of course you don't need the plastic bag. You just need to find a place to put your polish onto so that you can dip your dotting tool into. And then you just place the dotting tool wherever you want it to look like the cotton balls are at, or the brim fluff, or whatever you want to call it. You just put them on there. This part was really fun. You want to be careful with the edge of your nail and you don't want to get it on your skin. So I pulled my skin back when I was doing the edge of it. And then I did the same thing for the bottom of the hat, the cotton ball fluff. And cleanup is really easy, but you do want to make sure that you clean it up before it dries. I just took a lint-free cloth and I wiped the end of my dotting tool and it came right off. So there it is so far, looking good. A little trick, I like to take acetone, just a little bit of acetone, you can see I accidentally spilled it there, and a brush and just dip the makeup brush into the acetone and then you can clean up your edges without getting acetone over your nail or anywhere that it's not supposed to be. Obviously I learned this trick from the salon and it is a nifty little trick to get polish off where it's not supposed to be. All right, and then the next step is we want to protect our design and encapsulate it in clear powder. So we're going to do one full layer of clear powder over the entire nail. Something that I learned, so I will give this experience to you. Make sure that your white is completely dry. I thought that mine was completely dry, and it turns out I was wrong. So I did get a little bit of smear on the top part of my hat. Only I can see it, but I still know it's there. So just make sure that it's completely dry before you go in with your base coat to do your clear encapsulation. And you'll have to excuse my hand here. There was no good way to pour the clear over my thumb. You want to make sure that the entire thumb is covered. So if you are using the cupcake liner trick, you may run out of clear powder before it's covered. Just take the bottom part and re-pour it over. No big deal. And then I missed part at the top of my thumb, so I'm just dipping it in to just make sure everything gets covered. See, not everything has to be perfect. After you have complete coverage of clear powder on your thumb or whatever nail you're doing it on, then you take the activator and make sure that you activate it. Again, this is what hardens the nail so that we can file it and buff it. Very important you don't forget this step. You want to make sure to at least wait 2 minutes for the activator to dry before you go in with a file or a buffing block. Once the activator is dry, then take a file, make sure that the edges are the shape that you want. Just get you don't want to file too much, obviously. Hopefully, in theory, you already filed your nails to the shape for your nail prep, but you are going to have some excess powder that needs to be filed off and refine that shape, I should say. And then take a buffing block and buff the crap out of it. This is where we're making it smooth to the touch because you don't want a lumpy nail, and nobody wants a lumpy nail. So I won't make you watch the entire buffing portion of the video, but if you notice I just rubbed my thumb with my finger, that's my testing method to see if I'm done buffing. Once it's smooth enough, then I know I'm done. If it's not smooth, then I keep going. So once you are done buffing and your nail is to the smoothness that you like, then you're going to want to go wash your hands, get everything off, all the dust. I do use soap when I wash my hands, but I try not to get soap on my nail. So here you can see where the little bit of white kind of smeared up, but it's fine. Alright, so next, after you wash your hands, then you take the activator and you activate for a second time. Although in this case, it's technically the third time since we went in and we did the clear after our design, but normally you would activate 2 times, but 3 times for this design. After your activator has dried, again, you wait about 2 minutes for the activator to dry. I take an alcohol or a lint-free wipe and I put alcohol on it and I wipe it all over my thumb and my finger. The purpose of this is to try to make sure that you get any activator that's left over off, and of course any dust or anything that's left over. Once I have taken the alcohol, then I take a dry wipe and I dry it. If you don't do this, you will run the risk of ruining your top coat because the activator will ruin your top coat. It is a science of when you put the top coat on. So the top coat needs the activator to dry, but at the same time, the activator will ruin it if it touches it. So just always keep this in mind. Always, always, always wipe your brush after your brush touches your nail, just in case there was any activator left over. So this is now the second coat. I didn't keep the video on. I kind of paused it and jumped ahead, but once you do your first coat, you want to let it dry a little bit so that it looks like it's shrinking on your nail. Once the first layer of top coat looks like it is shrinking, then you can go in with your second coat and make sure that you cap your free edge. Oh yes, and I was rambling on. So one other thing that I did want to mention is for your first layer of top coat, don't worry about making it perfect. Just get it on there, slap it on as quickly as you can, and then go perfectly with your second coat. So there it is. There's our hat. I love it. I think it is super cute. The last and final step is showing our cuticles some love. So if you've watched my videos ever, then you know how much I love cuticle oil and glopping it on. I use so much of this stuff. Really, 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 you want to show your cuticles love. You beat the crap out of them. You mistreat them. This is your time to let them know that you still love them. I know, it sounds cheesy, but really, put cuticle oil on. Stay tuned for part 2 where we do Santa's buckle on my middle finger, coming soon. Please, if you liked this video, give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.